Hello, everyone. I am Charlie Tolhurst, and welcome to the Charlie Tolhurst Show. I'm joined by late party supporter Zach Chambers to run all the latest news this week. Hello, Zach.
Hi, Charlie. Hello, mate.
Hello. Now, I want to start the show off with I can't believe I'm saying this again already, because I only reported on this in July, when we had the resignation of Boris Johnson as the Prime Minister of the UK. We just had another Prime Minister, the shortest living Prime Minister, and the shortest serving Prime Minister in the history of the United Kingdom. And Liz Truss only lasting just over 6 weeks in office. The lettuce has outrun Liz in the Daily Star's campaign, which more on to later, regarding the nomination for that. But yes, Liz Truss had a disastrous run as Prime Minister for just 6 weeks. Suella Braverman resigning as Home Secretary was pretty much the killer resignation for Liz Truss, and literally she has been a complete disaster for the United Kingdom, with the banks tumbling, energy prices now soaring under Jeremy Hunt's, should I say, Jeremy Hunt's globalist agenda to lead the Conservative Party. It is clear the Conservatives are losing trust among the general public. So we now have another leadership contest. Can't we just call a general election and let the public decide who should be Prime Minister? That is the simplest option. That is what I'm calling for tonight. The Tories are toast. But there has been reports of two leaders potentially fighting it out to be Prime Minister. Well, should I say Free Penny Mordaunt is one of them. But the likelihood is Rishi Sunak. And of course, someone who got sacked pretty much in July, Boris Johnson, could be making a comeback. A lot of people describing Winston Churchill as the inspiration for that. But Zach, what have you made to the tumultuous last few days, especially the resignation of Liz Truss as Prime Minister of the UK?
Wow. Where do we begin again, Charlie? That's a sentence I've been using quite a lot recently. Where do we begin? Well, I don't know where to begin, quite frankly. Yeah, we've had the shortest ever Prime Minister in the United Kingdom history. 44 days, aka the equivalent of 4 Scaramucci's for Liz Truss. For those who are referencing why I'm mentioning a Scaramucci is, I'm referencing Anthony Scaramucci, who lasted, I think, 11 days as Donald Trump's former press secretary, as well, back in the days when he was in charge. That's what I was referencing. But yeah, it's been a total and absolute disaster from the very get-go, from Liz Truss, in terms of what her policies, what she's been pursuing. And I cannot believe that it's 44 days has really come to an end. As only last month we were talking about her coming into office, and we're about to talk about her decline out of office by come Friday, or maybe Monday, depending on what who knows when the next lead is going to be confirmed. It's either going to be Monday or it's either going to be Friday, or it could be in the middle of the week. Who knows? Let's just say that. As well. But yeah, it's been a disaster from the very let go in terms of in terms of the policy on tax, the policy on, and just very much everything. Liz Truss stood on a policy to do things and then did totally the opposite, which is why her leadership collapsed in many ways. And there was also the resignation of Kwarteng, Suella Braverman, although there was a good reason for Suella Braverman resigning, is because she was someone who can't be trusted with emails and data, pretty much in that department, as well. But then you had the Rishi backers like Grant Shapps, Jeremy Hunt going back into the to the Treasury, and the Home Office respectively. And it's been it's been quite the week where it's just extraordinary. Utter extraordinary. The whole reason I expect for the collapse is because party discipline completely broke down from Wednesday night onwards. I mean, there was the mood that Liz Truss should be replaced, but events on Wednesday night led to the acceleration of those changes. Really, to be honest, as well. To be fair, it's the events Wednesday night with all the bullying allegations, the whipping operation, led to Truss being out, and then once Graham Brady met Liz Truss, in Downing Street, you knew something was afoot when the party chairman, the deputy chief whip going in as well, the chief whip, not the chief whip, the deputy prime minister, Therese Coffey going in as well, and the party chairman going on the Thursday afternoon. Something was afoot, and then by the time we got to 1:30 on Thursday, she had resigned, and came out to probably the UK's worst ever premiership of a prime minister in its entire history, as well. Even worse than Boris Johnson, who left with shame. And Liz Truss is going to leave with complete shame as well, complete reputational tatters. She's tattered her own reputation. She's tattered the representation of the United Kingdom. She's tattered the representation of the Conservative Party. She's tattered the reputation of those who worked alongside her. And here we are going to be again. By this time next week, we're going to have another prime minister, who we don't know yet. But we know there's three contenders. There's Rishi Sunak, who's currently who's leading the MPs' vote. Nominations are due to close on Monday. Now, Rishi hasn't actually declared yet, and nor has this person, Boris Johnson. Have we heard that one before? Yeah, the one that resigned due to sex pest allegations. Oh, well, not exactly sex pest allegations, but because his MPs kept resigning in mass. Some of them were prepared to support him again, which is quite extraordinary, as well. In many ways, because they were all telling, some of them were telling him to resign, and now they're going to support him again. It's quite more. And there's Penny Mordaunt, who's the only one that's actually declared to announce. Now she's been sort of the shy, good supporting wing of the candidate in the Conservative Party leadership race. Yet she's not picking up the nomination. It's clear to me she ain't going to get 100 by the time on Monday. She may well just last it out, as well, and it well just could be what. And at the moment, it's Rishi Sunak's the favourite. At the moment, he's on 120, over 120 declared nomination. Boris Johnson publicly only got 60 at the moment. Now he's going to need 40 by the time we get to Monday at 2 p.m. when the nominations stage close. And then there's going to be at least one round of voting on Monday potentially if everyone gets a nomination, which is unlikely because Penny Mordaunt ain't going to get the nominations. So we're going to get a indicative vote on Monday. Then it's going to go to the members to decide online before Friday, and then there could be at least one television debate, and then Friday we could see the new prime minister declared. Now I can actually report, Charlie, this evening that a BBC journalist is reporting that Rishi Sunak and Boris Johnson have met this evening. I don't know the contents of that meeting at all so far at the moment, but all I know is that they have met, according to one BBC journalist and several others as well. Now, it's possible that Johnson could drop out, and then it would give a clean run for Rishi to win the prime ministership on Monday and become leader of the Conservative Party. But what would be, if Johnson drops out, what could be the exchange? Could it be that Johnson drops out in exchange to get a cabinet post, but which one we don't know? Or could it be that these talks could fall and he may well continue all the way to Friday if he gets the 100 required? And then potentially, when we get into the leadership members vote, it could be voted in on the membership. Who knows? In many ways, Johnson could fight this one all the way out. But at the moment, it's Rishi Sunak with the momentum with the MPs. Whether he get the momentum with the vote with the members, who knows? As well, Braverman is not going to run. Kenny Back wants to declare as supporting Sunak this evening. Ben Wallace is also out. He's leaning towards Boris Johnson. He is at the moment as well. So that is the situation at the moment. I don't know what's going to happen. We could have Prime Minister Sunak by Monday. We could have Boris Johnson Prime Minister by Friday. I don't even know. I do not even know, to be fair. And my opinion is, what has this country come to be fair, Charlie? What on earth has this country come to? Where we are getting to the point where possibly, it's not a certain, and momentum is in Sunak's way at the moment, but there is an extreme likelihood at the moment, it may not be may not come to this, but there is a likelihood that Boris Johnson could be the first comeback prime minister in the UK, and I cannot tell you how much of a disaster that will be. I mean, this country is going to out-Trump Donald Trump in terms of political comebacks, if that's the case. And the repercussions of that could be quite serious, because if Johnson does get in charge, there'll be an absolute all-out conservative revolt within the party. I mean, you'd see the likes of Roger Gales threatening to withdraw the Conservative whip if Boris Johnson does get in charge back in power again. There are others as well that could also leave the Conservative Party. If Johnson gets in and the members vote him in, if he goes all the way and gets 100 nominations by Monday, then this could be all-out civil war in the Conservative Party. If it's going to be him in charge, there will be an all-out civil war. And quite frankly, what I think the best idea going way forward now is that the party should stop playing political ping pong with choosing its leaders. And I think now it's time for a general election. You may be thinking, oh, not another one. Brendan from Bristol's going to be mad that another election could be on its way. Well, I think it's the only, my opinion, suitable option now, because you cannot be playing political ping pong with leaders that have no mandates from the public to run this country, chosen by a minority of idiots, quite frankly. I think the Conservative Party members are idiots, quite frankly, because they always choose the most dumbest ones to put in charge. In terms of Liz Truss, how can we trust them again after what they've done? I do not know, but if this Johnson gets in, it could all be over before it even started. I'm being serious when I say that. The Conservative Party rip itself to shreds. The public couldn't take it no more, and it'll just be time for general election. Unfortunately, if Johnson goes to election, fair enough, he'll get wiped out, but I don't know. I hope he doesn't come to that. My preferred option would be Sunak. But then again, I also think right now that the Conservative Party and its whole reputation has been damaged so much to the point they're never going to win the next election now. I think the next election is over for them because they've damaged their reputation. They've damaged their image so much with the British public. And it's just been impossible to come back for them. So, yeah. That's where we are on Saturday. Who knows? By next time we speak next week, Charlie. Who knows? Who bloody knows?
Who will be the next Prime Minister? Boris Johnson would be a Churchillian-style comeback that I don't think many people... To be honest with you, I mean, there are reports going around that he could be over by Christmas, given the Partygate reports and the Privilege Committee investigation.
He's got to face that if he comes back in charge. Yeah, exactly. what people don't seem to understand as well is not only that, him coming back, but there's the Privilege Committee investigation into whether he lied to Parliament still ongoing. Some say that he wants to get rid of it. I don't think Conservative MPs necessarily will want that as well. So yeah, he's going to be facing loads of problems regardless if he does get into charge. And like I said, I think it could be all over him before it even starts, because the Conservative Party will rip itself up to shreds. They'll have investigation after investigation, they'll have war after war, and we will not have a functioning government because it will just be arguing with itself about how they can even if it's the right person to run the country. Honestly, I want to bang my head in a dark room if Boris Johnson gets back into charge. I want to bang my head in a dark room and just keep banging until I get concussion. That's how I feel. That's honestly. I may be exaggeration. I'll probably be exaggeration on that one. I won't put it on my head because my health is quite important actually. But yeah, I'm really concerned for this country if we do have him in charge. I'll be slightly less concerned if Rishi's back in charge. If they put Rishi in charge, I still think he's a crap politician in many ways. He got the predictions on the economy correct. Give him that. Fair. That's fair. But he may well turn out to be still a crap politician anyway. So yeah. I don't know. I just hope for the best. You got to pray for the worst as well.
Oh, Zach, I have to say, I wouldn't be dreading I dread to think these two people. Okay, look, Boris Johnson. Okay, won the 2019 general election on a massive landslide, but it's the opposite way round this time because the Conservatives have been so shocking in the polls that it could be the other way. The Labour get the landslide. So I cannot say this enough. We need a general election, and I want the Tory Brexiteers, if possible, to consider. A lot of them could go reform. We could see Richard Tice's party doing very well, I think, in the next election. We know he's going to stand candidates in the next one. So please comment down below, guys, who you want to be the next Prime Minister of the United Kingdom already after just 6 weeks. So please comment down below what you think the options are. Moving on now to Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, can I say now, what's the date today? Let me guess. Today's date is, of course, the 22nd of October. We are now nearly, what is it now? Probably 8 or 9 months into this conflict pretty much now in Ukraine. What is going on with Vladimir Putin's war? It is turning into a disaster. Mobilized troops are threatening to basically walk away from the Russian army. And this week alone, Iran has made a mention into the war as Iran have been accused of lending Russia vital weapons known as kamikaze-style drones. There have been several attacks this week and several air raids on Kiev where buildings have been destroyed using these drone bombs that I call them. Missiles have been launched, dropped from a Russian fighter jet or something. Russia are aggressively using brutal tactics to kill civilians, innocent civilians. Zach, Vladimir Putin is being held very accountable for more war crimes.
Certainly, Charlie. Certainly, especially over the last week as well. What we see over the last week is pretty much torture, in many ways, by the Russians. Again, one of the key targets has been power infrastructure and energy infrastructure. They are targeting power grids, as well in electricity areas. These are areas that give Ukrainians light, basically, all their energy, as well, and power that they need to be able to heat and function their houses and all that sort of thing. And the Russians are deliberately targeting them so that they don't have any power. As well, they don't have any power. They don't have any water systems. As well, I think Zelensky said about a third of their power grid was targeted and destroyed over the last few days, which is extremely worrying. I mean, it's clear to me that the Russian strategy is to plunge people to the dark and into coldness so that they can't run anything, and to the point where they starve or don't even have any water. It's targeting civilian infrastructure, civilian power grids, and yeah, they're doing it the hard way. They make them suffer. But I suppose also as well, it's not always going Russia's way either. You look at Kherson, where they're having to evacuate the main city now because it looks like that in many ways that the Ukrainians are going to retake that city very sooner or later, as well. So yeah, the Ukrainians are going to retake that by the looks of things. It's been a slow and steady process there, but it looks like it's actually going to happen for Ukraine if the Russian army evacuates Kherson, an area where they're supposed to be annexed from Ukraine. It's soon probably going to be taken back by the Ukrainians. So I honestly think that Russia shot themselves in the foot here with what they've been doing, because the area they've annexed has been under attack, and annexing an area is not going to.
And Putin has declared martial law.
Yeah, This week there was obviously we had the Security Council meeting as well with Vladimir Putin, where he's declared martial laws in the 4 areas that he's annexed. Now, what that means is that he's got total massive control of the area in terms of power that they have, as as well. And he can close the borders if he really wanted to. He could he could force civilians to stay where they are. It's up to him. He's got the power in these 4 areas, so he's obviously trying to find a power grab from these Ukrainian annexed areas, to force civilians to potentially join the battle against Ukraine and even for their Russia. It's another forceful decision that they're trying to do in many ways to win this war. And again, like I said, Charlie, it ain't working. It's not working as well. It's not working, and they're still gonna lose this, no matter how much they try, and no matter how much pain they suffer and inflict on everybody.
Yeah, so many news here. Hundreds of people in central and western Ukraine woke up today to periodic power outages, and periodic bursts of gunfire. These were shooting down drones, missiles. Kiraduk, a member of the Ukrainian parliament, said 1.5 million people without electricity after Russian strikes against power stations. That was, I believe, on Saturday. That's today, by the way, because it is Saturday as we are speaking. Now, the Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida warned today of Russia using nuclear weapons will be seen as an act of hostility against humanity. Kishida's the only country that's been hit by a nuclear bomb. That was Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945 when the US launched atomic bombs there. He feared that Vladimir Putin's saber rattling is deeply disturbing. That's the president of Russia there. And Spain said on Saturday it would send 14 fighter jets to Bulgaria and Romania to bolster NATO's eastern flank. Now, Zach, I wanted to come on to this now because the UK Defence Secretary Ben Wallace has been speaking to the Commons about this week, that a British fighter jet was involved with a Russian fighter jet, or actually a British, I think, RAF plane was involved in some combat over the Black Sea with a Russian fighter jet. And apparently, I think this Russian fighter jet, which I'm pretty sure it's like an Su-37 aircraft or something, it apparently shot a missile towards the British aircraft. I mean, Zach, what do you make to this tactical display by the Russians here?
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, apparently that happened, I think, was it a month ago or something like that? But it's only been reported right now. I mean, yeah, it's an unusual bit of activity that happened over the Black Sea, because normally there's sort of exercises and all that sort of thing that happen there regardless. But the fact that a Russian military tried to target a British plane is quite concerning, and it looks like it's very bizarre what the Russians did. I mean, normally when you do exercises around there, you get jets around there. It's quite normal to see Russian and UK jets, cross paths to each other and nothing happens. But there was apparently this instance where, whilst could have been accidental, a Russian jet tried to shoot a British RAF plane, and that should raise your suspicions a little bit about what the intentions of the Russians are. I mean, that was deeply concerning, and it makes you wonder whether activity like this could continue to happen. Again, potentially in the future. So yeah, one to keep an eye out from, I think, certainly for me.
Yeah, very interesting. I think to keep an eye on the news, we've got to clearly look at whether this is going to be an existential threat to NATO, because we're part of NATO, by the way, and whether Putin does want to increase Russia's ability to use Western weapons. That's going to be a very big, interesting thing, whether he wants to challenge the West with nuclear weapons. It's going to be very interesting. Keep up the nuclear debate. We'll carry on with that in another show. But we're going to move on now and talk about another news story. Now, a lot of people have been thinking about news stories this week that I want to talk about, but I'm going to talk about something we'll come on to Just Stop Oil later on, because I know what disruption they've been causing this week. More on that later. we're going to go to the United States now. Now, I think a lot of people were going to find this very interesting. The fact that I want to talk about someone who was very close to Donald Trump. Now, it's been announced that I think Steve Bannon has been jailed after failing to provide evidence about the Capitol riots of January the 6th. Now, obviously, if you may remember the Capitol riots, it took place last January 2021. People called it an insurrection. Obviously, people have their views on it, but a mob of Trump protesters went into the building and threatened to destroy the heart of US democracy. Now, there's been multiple hearings on this. Many people have spoken out. I think there's still hearings ongoing, committee investigations into what happened at the event. Now, Zach, what do you make to the latest news on this?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that he's facing jail sentence of 4 months. That's what the judge ruled. It was 4 months. I mean, yeah, it's a fair sentence. He's going to go for appeal, which appears the judge has appeared to accept. That he's going to go for appeal. So his jail sentence doesn't apply yet, but if he loses that appeal, 4 months is what he's going to get, and a couple of $1,000 fine. Now, to me, the sentence is correct on its original decision because he clearly just refused to give evidence, and you could be found in contempt of Congress for deliberately refusing to give evidence and documents to a select committee, as well, if you can't do that. So, yeah, I'm not surprised in many ways, Charlie, that he got a 4-month jail sentence because clearly, to me, he was deliberately obstructing the committee's processes and jailing as well, and not giving evidence. And whatever your opinions of Steve Bannon is, giving committee evidence is important, regardless of your political spectrum, you're the left or the right, or you're progressive or you're conservative. Giving evidence to Congress when you're asked to is a must. Can't flout it. If you refuse to give evidence to police or something like that when you're arrested, then you'd be deliberately accused of obstructing justice. So here in the UK and beyond, so it's right that he's been given a jail sentence. To me, whatever your opinion of Steve Bannon is and whatever your opinion of January 6th of the committee is, it's totally right that he's been given a jail sentence, and hopefully he loses his appeal, in my view, because there's no other way. What appeal is there to even give to him? There isn't, unfortunately. So he's going to get 4 months eventually, and deservedly so.
Yeah, well, that's all the latest news from the US at the moment. Obviously, there's been news about President Joe Biden as well, of saying that he's in total decline now. I don't know whether that is coming on to Fox. I know Fox News have been reporting that recently, but I'm not going to get on to Joe Biden tonight. So all I can say, well, he was probably happy Liz Truss resigned after that. He did criticise Liz Truss's budget the other week, so mini budget. So all I can say is that's the United States news for now. Actually, we're going to stay in the States. Goodness me, we're in the States this week for Formula One, heading to the United States Grand Prix now. In the sport briefing here on the Charlie Tolhurst Show live on YouTube. Moving on to sport briefing with the United States Grand Prix. Well, we just had third practice with Charles Leclerc fastest for Ferrari, but Zach, he's taking a grid penalty ahead of this weekend's race, along with Red Bull's Sergio Perez.
Yeah, and Fernando Alonso tried to that effect as well. Several of them taking grid penalties as well for the weekend. It's going to be between I think Verstappen and the Mercedes for pole position today, certainly as well. So yeah, I mean, Max Verstappen comes here as a world champion. Obviously not surprising, really, to be fair. It's all a bit of a free for all in terms of second place now. Who can get second in the drivers' championship and all that sort of thing. As well, but I think what's been not off the certainly on the circuit in terms of Red Bull can win the constructors this weekend. They finished, I think it's 18 points ahead of Ferrari. Then they're in a good shot of winning the constructors championship this weekend as well. It just depends on how well Perez, and to that respect, does, as well as Verstappen, hoping he's not got any issues. But off the track, it's been political all week because Red Bull have been negotiating with FIA over what to do with their cost cap penalty. As you know, they've been accused. Obviously, they've been found to have done an administrative breach and a minor spending breach of the cost cap. Now, the rumours is that the FIA proposed them a reduction of 25% wind tunnel time and a fine with it as well. But it appears that that's negotiation still on place. If I was the rest of the teams on the grid, I'd be very unhappy with the fact that Red Bull could be getting away with a penalty, with what they could see as a minor penalty. But in some ways, I suppose losing wind tunnel time is quite significant. You've got less time to prepare your car for next year then. So that could really come to bite them back in the future. But the other teams, they're fed up. They want harsher penalties, understandably so. I think if you breach the cost cap, you deservedly get penalties. If say, for example, if your car's under the weight limit, then you get disqualified for having that sort of thing. So I think, although I'm not advocating disqualification for Red Bull, I do think they should be given a harsh penalty, so that they can learn the lesson from this what they did in 2021 regarding the budget cap, and take the punishment for next year. So I completely understand why other teams are upset in that, regardless. And it's not a good situation for them. But as you can see, there's the result from practice 3. Verstappen.
Verstappen fastest. My apologies. Sorry.
Verstappen was fastest, 0.3 ahead of Leclerc and Sainz. Unfortunately, both of them have taken penalties, with Sergio Perez and Fernando Alonso as well, and Sergio Perez. So it'll be Verstappen versus Hamilton and Russell grid for me in terms of qualifying. Max is clearly the favourite again to take pole position as well. But yeah, this weekend it's going to be a heavy crowd. There's going to be lots of celebrities as well. 500,000 expected over the weekend. It's going to be a popular Grand Prix as well. And there'll also be a Grand Prix next weekend as well in Mexico. So this is back-to-back in the Americas. And expecting a good little race this weekend. Qualifying on the very unusually late time of 11 o'clock tonight. Although the race is at 8 o'clock tomorrow. So a much more healthy time for the race tomorrow as well. All live on Sky F1 for all to watch.
Going through the standings, Max Verstappen first for Red Bull, Charles Leclerc was second for Ferrari, along with Carlos Sainz third for Ferrari, Sergio Perez fourth for Red Bull, Lewis Hamilton fifth for Mercedes, Fernando Alonso sixth for Alpine, George Russell seventh for Mercedes, then the two Aston Martins, Sebastian Vettel and Lance Stroll eighth for ninth. Pierre Gasly rounds out the top 10 for AlphaTauri. That was FP3 standings. But right now, I'm going to play for you a short little video of the interview which was taken during the team principals press conference, where Zach Brown and Christian Horner had a debate over the cost cap breaches, including this from Christian Horner about saying that it's shocking to be accused of cheating. Have a listen to this.
Christian, just in Zach's letter, he said that the overspend breach constitutes cheating. So I just wanted to get your reaction to that, and obviously the accusation of cheating.
Well, obviously Zach's letter, which wasn't copied to us. So, obviously we've had sight of that letter, and it's tremendously disappointing for a fellow competitor to be accusing you of cheating, to accuse you of fraudulent, activity is shocking. It's absolutely shocking that another competitor, without the facts, without any knowledge of the details, can be making that kind of accusation. And that goes, we've been on trial because of public accusations since Singapore. And, the rhetoric of cheats, the rhetoric of, that we've had this enormous benefit, the numbers have been put out in the media that are miles out of reality. And the damage that does to the brand, to our partners, to our drivers, to our workforce, in an age where, mental health is prevalent, we're seeing significant issues now within our workforce. We're getting kids that are being bullied in playgrounds that are employees' children. That is not right. Through fictitious allegations, from other teams, and you cannot go around just making that kind of allegation without any fact or substance. So we absolutely, are appalled at the behaviour of some of our competitors.
Zach, would you like to comment?
No, I guess yes, because I will comment. Look, my letter set out that I think if a team spends more than the cap, they're going to get an advantage, and the cap is a rule, no different than the technical rules in the sport. We're not taking a view whether they did or didn't. My letter was, if someone has, then here are the things that we think should be addressed. No different than if a ride height is incorrect or a flexi wing or whatever the case may be. So I didn't mention any teams. It was a general response. Now that we are into the cost cap era, if someone breaches that, here's what we think some of the ramifications are. I have no idea what the number is. I know none of the detail. If we had more money to spend, that would put us in a better light and performance, more people, more upgrades, whatever the case may be. So we feel it's a performance benefit. If someone has spent more than the allocated cost cap, that is up to the FIA to determine whether they have or haven't.
Thank you there to Christian Horner and Zach Brown there for that conversation. Zach, what did you make to these two over their debate with the cost cap breaches?
Yeah, I mean, Christian Horner came out very, very swinging in that press conference there. In the team principal press conference, he came out very swinging. He's been very defensive over the last few weeks in terms of, he standing up for his team, and he's been, accusing the other rivals of malicious statements, defamatory, compared it to bullying, in the key world of mental health. I mean, it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit harsh him to say compared to mental health issues, because there's many of them that's going through mental health issues that are, not compared to that. But yeah, McLaren is obviously getting their are swinging on their axes in terms of hitting Red Bull where it hurts, and then there's Christian Horner's coming out with the counter attack really, and defending his team from what is I know obviously what he thinks is defamatory statements. What we do know the fact is that the cost cap, though, in a disagreement with him, though, was breached. But the question is whether he will be prepared to face the consequence of it. It doesn't sound like it at the moment.
Yeah, it's getting political in F1, isn't it? I can see
it sure is.
Between team bosses. Wow, I can't believe that. So yeah, all I can say is watch this space for Formula One's cost cap, and also to confirm Logan Sargent will drive for Williams next year if his super license is achieved. So that's all I can say on that news at the moment. Moving on now to NASCAR to the last week's chaotic race in Las Vegas, which saw Kyle Larson collide with, should I say, do you know what? Honestly, the driver this week has been banned. Bubba Wallace, that was the driver that collided. Thank goodness I found that. Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson both collided. Bubba Wallace is suspended for this weekend's meeting at the Dixie Vodka 400 in Homestead Miami Speedway. Zach, last week we had a chaotic race. It ended up being Joey Logano taking the honours in the South Point 400.
Yeah, and Moses been crucially securing a place in the final four for Phoenix. He'll be racing for a championship in 2 weeks' time. Very crucially to be saying that as well. So Joey Logano running that race. Ross Chastain getting second place. Kyle Busch in third position. Chase Briscoe fourth. Denny Hamlin fifth. Tyler Reddick sixth. Truex seventh. Eric Jones eighth. AJ Allmendinger ninth. Austin Dillon in 10th. But obviously the the storyline of the race was the Bubba Wallace and Kyle Larson incidents, where Bubba Wallace had a fight with Kyle Larson on the circuit after the incident, making his displeasure quite known. The suspension, in my view, was pretty much right. I mean, feeling upset is one thing for getting put into the wall. Deliberately then turning another competitor onto the track and collecting Christopher Bell is another thing. In terms of the way that the retaliation was, it was clear retaliation. It was dangerous retaliation, and rightly got one race suspension for that. I mean, it was clear as day what the suspension to me. It was the right decision, and honestly, that sort of thing can't be tolerated, no matter how you feel about how the other people racing you. But yeah, Logano is the first one into the playoffs now. Now we've got 8 left still. Christopher Bell is lagging behind at the moment. Obviously, got caught up in that incident. He's in 8th position at the moment. Blaney's in 7th without winning a race all season. It's incredible, job he's done to get where he is at the moment. Chase Briscoe 6th. William Byron 5th at the moment in the standings, and if say Logano or another driver outside the playoffs wins the next race or two, then Ross Chastain, Chase Elliott, and Danny Hamlin would advance based on points. There will be at least one driver that will advance to the final 4 on points. The question is who it will be. We don't know. It could be Hamlin at this rate, although William Byron and Chase Briscoe and that fate Blaney are not far behind Hamlin at this stage, and Elliott's quite ahead so far, so he should be pretty happy with what's going on. Ross Chastain is in 2nd position as well. It's an impressive job by Chastain this season. It's incredible what the job he's done so far. Well, however he can retain that is another thing as well. But yeah, that'll be interesting to see as well. So that race is tomorrow. The pole sitter for that as well is Trevor Bayne. No, sorry, that's not Trevor Bayne. Apologies for that one. The pole sitter is not Trevor Bayne, actually. The pole sitter is William Byron tomorrow. I'm looking at the Xfinity thing. That's my bad. William Byron's on the pole for tomorrow. Christopher Bell, a championship, a playoff contender in 2nd. Chase Elliott is 3rd. So that's 2. So that's really important. They had 2nd and 3rd. Obviously in the playoffs. It is John Hunter Nemechek in 4th. Brandon. Oh no, hang on. I'm right. Kyle Larson is in 5th position. Ty Gibbs in 6th. Tyler Reddick in 7th. Chris Bush at 8th. Brad Keselowski in 9th. And AJ Allmendinger in 10th. Kyle Busch is in 11th. Truex is 12th. So that's the grid for tomorrow. William Byron on pole. It could be a mixed up race, I'll tell you that. But again, 2 more opportunities to get into the final 4 in a few weeks' time. In 2 weeks' time. Let me just tell you what's going on in the Xfinity Series race is about to get underway. By the way, Trevor Bayne's on pole for that, ahead of Noah Gragson as well. And in the Truck Series race, which happened earlier today, it was Ty Majeski that won the race ahead of Zane Smith, ahead of Stuart Frazen as well. Ryan Preece was 4th. Corey Heim was in 5th position. Ben Rose in 6th as well. Christian Eccles in 7th place. Let me go down a few more. Matt Craft in 8th. Parker in 9th. And I think it was Christopher Smith, Chandler Smith in 10th positions as well. So what it does mean is we do have the final 4 now. If I'm correct, yes, we do have the final 4 now for the finale in Homestead in 2 weeks' time for the Camper World event. It'll be Ty Majeski, Zane Smith, Ben Rhodes, and Chandler Smith for the final race, who could win the championship in 2 weeks' time. Whoever wins or finishes the highest position will take the title in 2 weeks' time at Phoenix. So yeah, Truck Series not back until next week, until 2 weeks' time. So that'll be the decider then. The Xfinity Series and the Cup Series will be back next week as well.
Martinsville, Xfinity 500.
The Cup Series races tomorrow is at 2:30 as well. The Cup Series race next week is at 1 p.m. I should point out it would be 2 p.m. But it's 1 p.m. because the clocks go back next week. So it'll be 1 p.m. UK time, where the the Cup Series, the Xfinity 500 will get underway, and Xfinity Series on Saturday next week as well is at 3 p.m. But their race, the Contender Boats 250, is just about to get underway at Homestead as well, in just a few minutes' time as well.
Plenty of racing, and of course, William Byron, last year's race winner, on the pole, Bushlight pole for this weekend's meeting at the Dixie Vodka 400 at Homestead, Miami. It's probably one of his favourite tracks, if you ask me, because he loves that track. He won there last year, so can William Byron go 2 from 2 and win again this year? Well, we'll see how he gets on. Now, moving on now to the football results. We've got plenty of sports news this week. Wow. So here comes the football results for the Premier League. Here we've got midweek action as well to round up. We had some midweek action, which is all up here. We'll go through that in a minute. I'll go over today's results. That's what we're going to do. Here we go. Here's today's results. Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 0. Everton 3, Crystal Palace 0. Man City 3, Brighton 1. And Chelsea and Manchester United ended up as a 1-1 draw. We've got matches tomorrow, which we'll see Wolves play Leicester. City, Aston Villa, managerless Aston Villa, should I say, after Steven Gerrard was sacked, play Brentford. Southampton and Arsenal play. Leeds and Fulham will play at 2 o'clock. And the 4:30 kickoff is the Tottenham versus Newcastle in White Hart Lane in London. And on Monday Night Football at 8 o'clock, it will be West Ham and Bournemouth. Sat, what do you make to the latest Premier League action, including some fixtures on Thursday?
Yeah, let's go through some of the Thursday. Let's go through some of the midweek first of all, Charlie, because I think it's important because we had a bunch of midweek games as well, where in Brighton, Austin Forest ended up 0-0. Palace with a big 2-1 victory over Wolves. Obviously, we didn't have Manchester City v Arsenal v Manchester City because Arsenal were playing in the Europa League. Their rescheduled match. They won, I think, 1-0 actually against PSV in that one. Big win for them as well. Bournemouth on the Wednesday lost 1-0 to Southampton. Liverpool won 1-0 against West Ham as well. Brentford Chelsea ended up with a goalless draw as well. Newcastle with a bit of a crucial win over Everton. Man United with a 2-0 win over Tottenham. That was a big result there, actually, a surprising one as well. Fulham with a 3-0 win over Aston Villa, which cost Steven Gerrard his job on that one. And Leicester 2-0, big win there over Leeds, a very significant win for Leicester City, actually. As well in that regard, we come to today's result, as you said, a very surprising result. The big result of the day, I think, is Nottingham Forest beating Liverpool in the first rivalry match for well over 40 years. A big goal scored by Toyo Iwoni in the 55th minute and holding on until the very end with a 1-0 victory. Such a big result for Nottingham Forest as well. It means they come bottom of the table for now. Leicester are now back to the bottom of the table after today's result with Nottingham Forest. In today's results, Everton picking up momentum now, 3-0 win over Crystal Palace. I have to say as well, that's a really crucial win for Everton as well. Frank Lampard with a good performance today, poor performance for Crystal Palace. City 3, Brighton 1. City with 2 goals with Ellen Hallard, who's just been on that momentous run as well, with a 22nd minute goal and a 43rd minute goal, a penalty, and 75th minute goal for Kevin De Bruyne. A big result. Ellen Hallard on a stunning run. And it was the league of late goals in the Chelsea-Manchester United games. Both of the goals were scored in the 87th and 94th minute. Chelsea scored from a penalty, and Casemiro for Manchester United. Whew! Just managed to get over the line and to get that result as well. And as you said, Charlie, tomorrow Wolves v Leicester, that'd be a crucial game actually in that terms. Aston Villa Brentford, first game where there'll be no Steven Gerrard. Southampton Arsenal as well. 2, can Arsenal continue their good run of form and continue to go top of the Premier League as well? Leeds United and Fulham as well. That'll be a good one. And then Tottenham v Newcastle is going to be quite a close match, I think, as well. Expect that as well. Can Spurs recover from their 2-0 loss against Manchester United? Monday Night Football is West Ham v Bournemouth on the south of the South Coast. Derby in terms of that one as well. And then next weekend you've got fixtures. Also got Champions League fixture of the week of the next week as well. Ajax Liverpool as well. Ajax Liverpool, that's going to be a crucial one on the Tuesday as well. Dortmund v Manchester City. Sorry, Dortmund Manchester City on Tuesday. Ajax Liverpool on the Wednesday. Salzburg v Chelsea Tuesday. And Tottenham v Sporting as well on the Wednesday as well. Big fixture ahead on that one as well.
Plenty of fixtures for Premier League teams. We'll be back with another football roundup next week on my show. And it's getting on time, but it's Charlie's good news, which this week is a showbiz thing. We've got a few showbiz updates, and also, I have to announce the winner of the Masked Singer was a Glee cast star this week. I'm sure Zach will comment on who that was. The Masked Singer was onomatopoeia, and I believe Scissors. It was a Glee star that was unveiled. I'm not actually sure. Pearly King.
Heaven
was
Morris,
Bruno.
yeah, it was. Heaven Morris was the one that was unmasked tonight as to be Glee superstar. Or Scissors, Heaven Morris as well. That was her who was unmasked tonight as the winner of the masked dancer, should I say?
Masked dancer.
You keep saying singer, but it's dancer. Who used to be a dancer for Beyonce. 2 backup dancers in Single Ladies, and now she won the whole dancing series as well. Big result as well. Congratulations to Heaven Morris for winning the whole series as well. But we also had other unmaskings this week. Pearly King was third. It revealed to be Bruno Tonioli, the Strictly Come Dancing judge, incredibly being unmasked as well. And the second place one, onomatopoeia, was Adam Garcia to be star of stage and screen as well. Onomatopoeia's second was Adam Garcia as well. But congratulations, obviously, to Heaven Morris and Scissors, who won the whole series as well. Big win and a great series once again overall.
Yeah, big artists in the Masked Dancer. Huge congratulations and huge thanks to Joel Dommett for hosting the series. Yeah, what a way to finish it. That's all I can say. But what I'm talking about tonight is the return of The Voice UK for the semi-finals. I'm not going to go over the semi-final results because obviously I've still got to watch the show. But the callbacks were finished. We have a new lineup of singers who will take part in the show. I have actually watched some of it, but I'm not going to name who went through because I don't want to spoil it for everyone. But here are the contenders for The Voice UK for 2022. These are the semi-finalists who are taking part. So Team Will, we have Noeva. She was selected after performing in the callbacks. Wills impressed her. She got picked through. She performed One Woman's Worth by Alicia Keys in her audition. Rain Costello is a 22-year-old from Liverpool, performed Simmer by Mahalia featuring Burner. And Naomi Johnson performed Emotions by Mariah Carey. She was also picked. Team Ollie, we had 27-year-old full-time performer Shaka from Leicester. She performed Basement by Jackson Lisa Killer's Good Luck. And we had Mark Halls from Essex, 35-year-old musician who played with a piano. He performed on a guitar He performed "Driver's License" by Olivia Rodrigo. That's actually a very popular song now, isn't it? Actually,
Yeah.
Then we had David Adogun, who's a 20-year-old London student. He performed "Silence in the Night" by J.P. Cooper. But if you watch tonight's performance, he actually performed "Easy on Me" by Adele, one of the most hardest songs I think to sing right now. And Zach will go through Team Anne-Marie and Team Tom.
Yeah, let's go through Anne-Marie. Trini Josie, 32-year-old teacher rapper, as well, performed original songs to secure his place on Team Anne-Marie. Let's go down a little bit more. Mark Howard, sounds like the bloke from Take That, but it's a different Mark Howard. 27-year-old estate agent, performed Anywhere Away From Here by Pink and Ragaboma. Well, I think it's a good song, by the way. As well, Kai Benjamin, I liked him. 18-year-old from Cornwall, before took his own take on Seven Rings, as well. And then on Team Tom, we have Anthony Edwards, as well. 25-year-old, performed unconditionally by Katy Perry, as well. Jacob Diamonds, as well, 28-year-olds. He performed the original song "Words." Jacob Diamonds is a very good name, I have to say. And Rachel Modest as well, 45 years old. I think one of the oldest in the competition. All We Know by Donny Hathaway for her audition as well. But that's the team. I think, is that it? Is that it? Yeah, that's how the team's
final 12
for now. Yeah, the final 12.
Yeah, and all I can say for next week, there will only be 4 people left. They will perform to be voted by the public to see who is crowned 2022's Voice UK champion. They will get their own record contract as well. Previous winners of The Voice, well, last year's winner was actually Craig Eddy, who won the show last year, I think, for Team Anne-Marie. So can will Anne-Marie continue it, or will there another coach who will take the honours?
Who knows?
I haven't seen Will win for a while, so maybe...
I hope so. It will be fair to get a win for all of the judges once now and then, isn't it? Swap them over every year.
I don't know. I mean, there's some good... Anthony has auditioned really... I actually watched Anthony, the first performance, and she moved me to tears with that song unconditionally. So all I can say is that is on. And also, stay tuned. I'm a Celebrity's back in a few weeks as well. I cannot wait for the start of I'm a Celebrity. Ant and Dec are now out of COVID isolation and raring to go, I think, to get I'm a Celebrity back on the streams, I think. I hope Ant and Dec are all right. If they're watching the show tonight, the Charlie Ty Show live on YouTube. I'm sure they're fine. Ant and Dec are back out, I'm sure, back and getting into Australia very, very soon. And Zach has just gone to do something. So I'm going to actually now take you through the newspaper headlines whilst we're here for tomorrow's papers today. I'm going to refresh the feed because there's probably been some new papers coming out, and we have had loads of new papers being released. The Daily Star has gone for its only rock and goal. I saw a ghost of a World War I soldier. That's Brian Johnson being spooked, and also Pants on Fire, Bozo, Boris Johnson, in that. The Sunday Telegraph, Sunak and Johnson urged to strike a deal. Fronts of fears of historic Tory split if leadership frontrunners cannot agree a joint ticket. Sunday People goes, with schools crippled by the cost of chaos, teachers pull out, light bulbs to cut bills as government implodes. 9 out of 10 schools will run out of money within a year. The Mirror, Keir Starmer, the Labour Party leader and leader of the opposition, slams Prime Minister battle fiasco. The Tories can't even govern themselves. The Sunday Express goes with the headline, Boris is back. The Observer goes with, top Tories say Johnson return would risk the party's death. The Sunday Mail goes with phony. Tory leadership horror show never ends. Boris claims he's back, but Sunak says prove it. The Independent goes, Johnson told to prove he had support to fight on. ex-Prime Minister claims the backings, and yeah, Rishi Sunak gets the backing of Kemi Badenoch. And for some reason, I say this now, that they've released 2 copies of the Daily Star. For some reason, the Daily Star has another couple of copies. Rock legend Brian Johnson there. Yeah, 950, It's Only Rock and Gold was actually the original paper headline there. That was released. So we do have all of the newspapers that are released. Obviously, Zach's just going to be a minute. So I will start off by going over the papers for you now, guys, and talking to you while Zach is currently away at the moment. So here we go, guys, with a look at the first paper on the newspaper headlines, which is this one, The Only Rock and Gold. I saw a ghost of a World War One soldier. Is Brian Adams being spooked here? I don't know. I mean, AC/DC certainly have an interesting dilemma to sort out. Is that true? Brian Johnson had a raspy voice when he was in AC/DC. Yeah, I'm sure that one's going to come in. Their Lettuce with Liz campaign certainly done well. Now, the Sunday Telegraph goes with Sunak and Johnson urge to strike a deal. Now, this headline comes off the back of the Tory leadership election, which, if you guys know, we'll actually get up the papers for you now. I forgot to do that a minute ago, so I've just read out all the headlines. So here's the papers now for you. Now, Sunak and Johnson both served in a cabinet together pre-Liz Truss government. Obviously, though, these two are going to go up against each other. Now, obviously, the Tory party at the moment face infighting with Liz Truss resigning on Thursday, sparking fears of a potential general election. And I have to say this, I really think the Tories are in trouble. Boris Johnson has had a pretty bad track record when it comes to a lot of things. Partygate, the Chris Pincher scandal, and locking Britain down unnecessarily for 3 times, blowing up the economy and causing a cost of living crisis unlike no other. I think he's the one to blame for it. And Rishi Sunak, in my view, Jeremy Hunt potentially being a chancellor could cause Britain's energy prices to soar to over £4,000 at the end of this year. It will cause a nightmare and havoc for families. I'm pretty sure we are in for a very tumultuous time if he gets elected into number 10 next week. The Sunday People goes with the headline, Schools Crippled by the Cost of Chaos. Now, looking at this headline, I think to myself, is the situation becoming ever so slightly more problematic for the Conservative Party now? The fact that schools are being crippled by the cost of living crisis. Now, teachers alone have to pay a lot of money to keep their lights on in their classroom, even though the nation can't afford to go into a blackout in the winter. Now, I honestly have to say, in my own opinion, I think something has to come here. You can't have a situation where basically the schools are being destroyed by the government. The government needs to give the schools support. They need to give hospitality support. And schools are in general a place where people
Hello, sorry, I'm back.
learn for the good. Oh, Zach is back now.
Yeah, sorry, I had to go off to do something quickly.
So yeah, I'm just reviewing the papers, Zach. We're up to the paper now with the Sunday People.
Yeah, I was gonna say, looking at the Sunday People, they're going slightly different actually. Regarding all this Johnson stuff, because the rest of them are all going like focusing on Johnson at the moment, and they're going on with the quite seriously all the school stuff by the looks of it. Like they're talking about 9 out of 10 schools running out of money by the end of the year, within a year. I mean, pretty serious stuff to be fair, Charlie. I mean, if schools are running out of budget, then how are schools able to function and all that sort of thing? As well, it is quite serious stuff in terms of schools. As well, I mean, they're having to cut bills and everything as well. That's quite really bad. I mean, I work a lot with schools as well in my job that I do every day, and it's quite serious that if schools are going to be losing, you know, money and all that sort of thing, and then having to cut bills even more when they're already on their knees is pretty serious. As well, I don't know what else have you covered. Have you covered the Telegraph and all that sort of thing?
Yeah.
I think we've done that. Mirror, Keir Starmer's written for them. You know, pretty much Keir Starmer's writing on a regular basis now, aren't they? Pretty much because they're getting all the Tory chaos. As well, Sunday Express, Telegraph. Let me just go through the Mail, Observer, all focusing on Boris. Independent as well. Who knows if it's going to reach 100 or not, Charlie, to be fair, as well. And the Daily Star is going for it's only rock and roll. It's talking about a ghost. I mean, what's it with the Daily Stars and ghosts recently? I have honestly no idea. But they, this is Rockland Brian Johnson saying he was once spooked by a ghost of a dead World War One soldier. Oh dear. That's quite a freaky thing to do, really, to be honest. And the Daily Star has also gone for Pints on Fire, Bojo, and they've done it. I don't know what is that. There's not the lettuce. What is that? Is that an aubergine or something like that? It's an aubergine. Good God, an aubergine, for heaven's sake! I mean, we've had lettuce. Now they're going for aubergine potentially. What's going to be Rishi Sunak? I wonder if he gets in charge. I don't know. An animal, a sort of fruit that I don't know what fruit he will be, as well. But yeah, most of the papers are focusing on the Conservative leader. Boris is back. Keir Starmer writing for the Mirror saying that, you know, the Tories can't even govern themselves, as well. Anonymous briefings whether he's hit 100 or not. Who knows? Is he going to hit 100? I think he is at this stage, but the momentum's with Sunak at the moment, Charlie. I say on that front, as well.
Yeah, it's
So,
one of
yeah.
them. I think it's going to be interesting how, like, whether they're going to come out on top, whether there's going to be an election. I don't know. Please comment down below, guys, what you make of the newspaper review. Certainly, I had to cover a lot of that tonight. But there we go. Time now to talk about tonight's Great British Stars and Red Devils of the week. Well, oh my God, this is my favourite part of this show where I'm going to talk about Stars and Red Devils. Now,
oh yeah,
I have my listing here of Stars and Red Devils that I'm going to give out this week. Now, I'm actually going to start with Zach's nominations this week for the Stars and the Red Devils.
Oh my goodness me! Right, so let me start with me first, Charlie. I'm going to give the star to the Daily Star lettuce. No other option this week, other than the fact that lettuce really did outrun a prime minister. It's incredible, really. It only in Britain could we come out. A lettuce could outlast a blooming, prime minister. It started as fun, this lettuce, and they did several things to this lettuce. I don't know what they put them in disco machine area. They put them with food. There's some flags there. I mean, it's unbelievable. This is getting worldwide attention. I think in the future, Charlie, the lettuce should be deputy prime minister to Larry the cat, in my opinion, because that would make a good pair. Honestly, they would save the country, them two. Honestly, it's been one of those weeks, and a lettuce actually outrun. It only took about 5 days for the lettuce to outrun Liz Truss. It's quite something, as well. But yeah, that's an incredible job. That's my British Star. The Red
There's a
Devils
lettuce there.
goes to Liz Truss, obviously. But for many reasons, you probably know why. But I'm also going to give it as well, Charlie, the second one. I'm going to give it to the Chinese consulate for the pro-democracy attack just outside one of the university buildings in the UK as well. You may remember there's a gang of people that have gone around attacking a Hong Kong citizen protester here in the UK. And it received a lot of attention this week. So I'm going to give you the Red Devil to that as well as my picks for this week. So the British Star obviously goes to the lettuce. The Red Devil goes to the Chinese consulate person running that for being involved in an attack with a Hong Kong pro-democracy protest here in the UK. and getting attacked by a load of protesters is pretty disgusting, really, to be fair, Charlie.
Sounds like the Chinese Communist Party want us to pay British taxpayers to go over there and train them how to fly planes. I mean, is it? That seems a bit
Yeah.
weird, I think. Hearing how
Yeah,
BBC uses them.
Yeah. It's the fact that attack happened on our own soil, Charlie, or outside one of our consults in the UK, it's just pretty disgusting, really. To be fair, I mean, shame on the. They should be, whoever obviously organised this should be, quite frankly, expelled and sent back, because it's pretty disgusting what happened to the protester. I mean, the innocent, peaceful demonstrator being attacked by others, and then the person in charge being probably involved is pretty disgusting, really.
Yeah, well, it's time now to do my nominations, and obviously one of the nominations I'm going to give is the Daily Star for that lettuce. Liz Truss being outrun by a lettuce. That is my Great British Star, and also I'm going to give one to Suella Braverman for that attacking lettuce she sent to Liz Truss, who probably earns a Red Devil nomination of the week for both of us, I think, for that awful time in office, only lasting just over 6 weeks. Pretty shocking for a Prime Minister just to 6 weeks. It's pretty bad. But the actual nominations, Suella Braverman and sorry for that. Suella Braverman also with that letter, clear to me that she gave a pretty ferocious attack to Liz Truss. But Red Devils now, welcome guys to Just Stop Oil for getting my Red Devil of the week for this quite simply stupid amount of protesting this week. Now, one of the protests is the guy called Morgan Trowland, who gets my nomination from Just Stop Oil. Now, he is, I believe, an engineer. Okay. Now, this week on Monday, they climbed the Dartford Queen Elizabeth II Bridge at Dartford Crossing, causing 2-hour delays on the M25. It's been announced that 2 men have been charged. Morgan Trowland of Islington, North London, funny enough, the constituency where Jeremy Corbyn once was from, and Marcus Decker, 33, of no fixed address, have been charged with committing a public nuisance. Essex Police have been sent, and apparently they're being appeared in magistrates' court. And that was on Thursday, that article, please. Put them in prison, those two idiots. They've also been going around blocking various other places as well. They've been blocking roads in London, Islington North. There's also been even more blocking roads here. Are these people still insulate Britain in a nutshell? All I can say is, come on, guys, stop being nuisance and get on with your lives. And another nomination goes to a US talk show host. Actually, he's British, but lives in America. Because he hosts a late show. James Corden gets my nomination this week for quite simply, apparently, just having a bad behaviour in a restaurant. He's apparently been kicked out of a restaurant for bad behaviour. He's just come out and apologised after a both Hazard restaurant ban that has just happened to him. I just want to say he's just come out and done his apology. Thank you, he did. The owner said, Keith McEnady, who runs Popular, she said Corden had been in abusive customers after some errors with his order, but later revealed the actor TV apologised. But Mr. Naney then lifted the ban, saying, I strongly believe in second chances. James Corden's been in a lot of trouble this week and earns my Red Devil of the week. Zach, what do you make to my nominations?
Yeah, I agree. Most of them, actually, to be fair, Just Stop Oil. I mean, like I've said before, Chai, I support their principal idea of preventing oil leaks and all that sort of thing, but the tactics are just idiotic. And on top of the Dartford Crossing, I mean, the Dartford Crossing is hellhole, is it enough? It is. We don't need the idiots as well going on top of it and doing stupid things like that. I mean, come on. It's so bad. so bad what they did as well. And then James Corden, he's a bit weird, isn't he, sometimes? And I think what he did was particularly strange. Hopefully, he's apologised and he can learn from his silly little action.
Yeah, I think my Red Devil has to be just upon. I mean, both of us actually drive now. Thank you. I mean, obviously, Zach, during the week, my friend Zach passed his driving test during the week to all the listeners out there. So I'm sure both of us, if we ever had to use the M25 at some point, if we got caught by, what was it, Insulate Britain or Just Up All, I bet we would probably be dragging them out of the road or anything like that happening. I mean, all I can say is that it'd be pretty funny, whatever would happen in that scenario, if one of us ended up having to drag them out the road. Wouldn't that be, Zach? If we had to drive up and we saw them in the road, we had to drag them out.
I don't know. Yeah, you want to drag them out. I have to do it that way. It's so tempting to say run them over, but I have to drag them out the road. That'd be awful for me, but I couldn't do it. I'm a bit weak, to be honest. I couldn't really drag them out the road, but give it a go.
Maybe get Grant Shapps to look at it and say, tell them to move on.
Yeah, pretty much needs to. Honestly, can't be doing those sort of things. As I said before, I agree with the purpose of what they're doing, but the tactics, rubbish.
Yeah,
rubbish.
maybe they can go and hang themselves on a washing line rather than hang themselves in the middle of the Dartford crossing bridge. I bet it would have been really cold up there. I'm sure pretty freezing up there, especially at night. Coming into winter now. But that's all we got time for the Charlie Tolhurst show tonight. We'll see you again next week for another episode of the show. And please note, next week's episode might be coming for you from a remote location, as I will be away next week doing some refereeing up in Sheffield. So take care, guys. See you later. Good night.